Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm Ploopachoop, and if you're new here, hey, hi, welcome. As some of you know, the spooky season is upon us as October has officially started. This is something that we have always tried to celebrate on this channel, even back to our Let's Play days, where we would upload horror games exclusively in October, because a lot of our community loves this time of year and horror in general. Today's idea was inspired by a comment left on my recent PS1 challenge video shown here. I am going to be releasing a non-horror version of this video after this month, but I thought that this premise was an awesome idea and a perfect way to welcome in the month of the spooky season. Now, I quantified short as under 10 hours just for the parameters of this video, and I also chose games that I myself have finished. That means that there's going to be a lot of games that I missed, as I really haven't finished a lot of horror games. I just recently started focusing on finishing them within the last 3 or 4 years since I started YouTube. That being said, please do share some of your short horror game recommendations that I can check out in the comments below. I would love to have a list of games to beat this October. Now, this list is in no particular order, just to be clear. Alright, without further ado, here are 10 must-play short horror games that you should try this spooky season to usher in the spooky vibes.
You're on a path in the woods.
Starting off this list is one of the most recent games that I have finished, which is Slay the Princess. This visual novel allows you to choose your own adventure and features a ton of options and choices that can all alter the story and ending that you'll see. I was able to finish a lot of these playthroughs in well under the 10-hour mark, and I was really impressed with just how clever, unique, and well thought out the storyline of Slay the Princess is. I can't really talk too much more about this game, as a part of this game's amazing quality, I believe, is in its player's first unruined experience. With that being said, this game ultimately features a moral dilemma at its core, and it's one that you'll have to decide upon to decide the fate of everyone involved. Coming in at number 9, we have Little Nightmares 1 and 2. These games have had a special place in my heart, as the first one was the first ever Let's Play that I finished on this channel with my wife when we first began making YouTube videos. The Little Nightmares games do a great job of creating a tense and creepy atmosphere through putting the player in anxiety-invoking close encounters with the predators of this world who are looking to prey upon our small heroes. The world of Little Nightmares is a brutal and disturbing place, and through clever puzzles, tight platforming, and using their cunning instincts, players may just be able to make it to the end of the games. The first of these games comes in for most players around the 3-hour mark, and the second one almost doubles that, coming in at around 6. Depending on your free time, these two games could easily be cleared in a weekend, making them perfect for shorter horror-themed games that the busy gamer can pick up and complete. With their bleak and interesting world, close encounters with horrific enemies, and puzzles to solve, the Little Nightmares series does represent a refreshing take on the puzzle platformer genre. A third entry is set to release in 2025, and so this October may be your chance to catch up to the series before the new game hits shelves. I just wrapped up playing this game recently, and it was so insanely good at capturing that nostalgic retro horror vibe that so many people love nowadays. My playthrough came in at just under 6 hours, making Crow Country perfect for this list. Crow Country seeks to bring the nostalgic and hauntingly charming vibes of the PS1 to modern gaming hardware. Due to this, it features stylized graphics of the time, as well as a lot of staples for the games of that time, like having to scavenge for limited ammo, connecting pieces of puzzles over a large map through finding items and backtracking, and a mystery that slowly unravels the more time we spend in the Crow Country amusement park. The story follows Agent Mara Forrest, who has arrived on scene at the abandoned park to find its owner. She soon finds out that the park may not be as empty as it seems, and will have to rely on her skills to survive and uncover just what is going on here. After just wrapping it up, I can say it was a lot of fun, and coming from someone who sucks at puzzles, they're really not too difficult here, but they do offer a sense of accomplishment. If you do love the survival horror games of old, like Silent Hill and Resident Evil, you owe it to yourself to take a trip to Crow Country this October. With the remake of Silent Hill 2 just around the corner, now is the perfect time to get caught up and play the game that started it all. Coming in at just under the 8-hour mark is Silent Hill for the original Sony PlayStation. This game is a legendary horror classic at this point, and combined the tank control elements of games like Resident Evil with psychological horror elements that would go on to inspire generations and generations of horror games to come. Silent Hill follows Harry Mason, who finds himself in the titular town after a car crash causes him and his daughter to become separated. Harry must survive encounters with grotesque creatures, solve intricate puzzles, and explore the hellish nightmare that is the town of Silent Hill. This was one of the first horror games that focused on psychological elements and put a huge focus on creating a dreadful and uneasy atmosphere and environment to explore. This, like Parasite Eve, are two classic horror games that I'm really glad that I got around to, and I cannot recommend them enough for retro horror fans. Fears to Fathom is an episodic horror anthology in which players take control of a person telling their haunting stories of close encounters with people who are looking to do them harm. As the series has gained popularity and success, each new episode has undoubtedly evolved upon the foundation that solo developer Rail has built in his first installment. The further we have come in the Fears to Fathom series, the longer and more intricate the episodes have become. Now, I haven't played the most recent release yet, and it's one that I plan to get to this spooky season, but for the other 4, I have played them and beaten them. Fears the Fathom is like an interactive version of one of those Reddit stories that you find on the horror Reddit pages, and these games do a great job in providing some really scary and intense moments throughout their narratives and gameplay alike. These first-person horror stories will slowly allow the dread of the storyteller to seep out into the player's experience as the inevitable encounter with the big bad draws closer and closer. I actually think you could beat this entire series, well, at least 1 to 4, because that's what I've played, in a weekend, with even the longer entries only sitting at around the 2-hour mark on average. But yeah, that's Fears the Fathom. I love this game, I love all the episodes, and I'm really looking forward to playing the newest one. Many of you are likely familiar with Outlast, as it's one of the most well-known first-person horror games released on last-gen consoles. Players take on the role of journalist Miles, Upshur, who goes to the Mount Massive Asylum after receiving an anonymous tip that there's experiments going on. It isn't long before players come into contact with the many patients of the asylum who are both violent and have obviously been experimented upon. Armed with only a camera and its night vision capabilities, combat is not an option in this game, and players will have to resort to running and hiding to stay alive and outlast the night. Yeah, I'll see myself out. This game is pretty intense and it can be downright terrifying at points throughout its narrative. Having to rely on the night vision and the pitch black darkness of some of the areas in the asylum, and just the amount of chase scenes and close calls that this game has in it, make it perfect for terrifying people for spooky season. While it may have aged a bit in the 11 years since it came out, I still think it's worth a look for players looking to get their heart pumping. The Mortuary Assistant is by far one of my favorite recent horror games. The unique setting and gameplay mechanics do a fantastic job of further driving home the horror elements of this title. The way the camera locks into place as you examine the bodies, the random nature of the scares that appear, the clever sound design, every single aspect of this game makes this game scarier and better as a whole. If you want a game that features some acutely scary moments, this one is for you. The story follows new mortuary assistant Rebecca Owens, who has just recently begun her employment with the Riverfields Mortuary under the eye of Raymond Delver. One night, Raymond calls Rebecca asking her to work a night shift as he isn't feeling very well, and after she arrives, he locks her inside and asks her to help him in his fight against demons who have possessed the cadavers within the mortuary. Players begin a multi-night battle against the forces of darkness, where Rebecca must act quickly to maintain her sanity, while the demons torment her with visions of her troubled past. Can you identify and banish the demons, or will Rebecca become possessed herself? Now, this is another game that you can technically finish in under 45 minutes, with my own first playthrough being around 37 minutes long. Buckshot Roulette is a horror game with strategy and gambling elements, where players play rounds with a nefarious dealer in which they take turns firing a shotgun at each other. There are items that pop up on the table every round that can help you outsmart the dealer, though he also has access to these as well. I've been playing this game a bit more recently as it does have a really good replay value, and I think that it really excels in hooking the player in with a simple yet addicting gameplay loop. Buckshot Roulette may not be downright terrifying, but the concept and the setting of the game are disturbing, and I think that they fit quite well with this time of year. Now, if you do play this game and you want more info on it, which there will be spoilers, but if you want a deep dive, friend of the channel Backpack Comics did a deep dive like this over on his channel that you should definitely go watch. This is a game that I just finished as a part of my Playing PS1 for a Month Only challenge. Parasite Eve was Squaresoft's answer to Resident Evil, and it looked to capitalize on the survival horror genre while still maintaining some of that RPG Square identity. This includes a turn-based combat system akin to that of Final Fantasy VII's ATB system, and the use of special abilities, which are essentially just spells from any of the Final Fantasy games. Join the fight for humanity and the world as we know it as rookie New York City cop Aya Brea, who stands up to the harbinger of darkness in this title, Eve. This game is a really interesting fusion of RPG mechanics and horror themes, and I really enjoyed my first playthrough of it, mostly because of the fantastic story and characters. The plot is full of big reveals and emotional moments, and I think that any person who loves retro horror games owes it to themselves to check this game out. Because of the popularity of the PS1 style horror games, maybe this year is one to try a game that actually came from that era itself. My next video this month will be a review of my experience with Parasite Eve, and if you're interested in that, why not subscribe and hit that bell so you never miss a video. And finally, I know I said this list wasn't numbered, but I did save what I feel like is the scariest game for last. If you want to play a game that I found absolutely terrifying, look no further than Visage. Visage is a first-person psychological horror game that feels heavily inspired by the legendary demo that never was, PT. The story follows multiple past owners of this house who all seem to be still inhabiting it, and are hell-bent on sharing their pain and suffering with us whether we want to see the stories or not. Visage is absolutely a horror game that excels in being genuinely scary, and it's one that left a big impression on me after I saw the credits roll. This game sort of numbed me to a lot of other horror games, and I have found very few that have made me quite as anxious and uncomfortable as this one. This one is a must-play for anyone who's looking to scare themselves or their friends this October, and I cannot recommend Visage enough. And that is my list of 10 short horror games that you can beat this spooky season. What are some horror games that you can recommend for me to check out? Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe. Until next time, Plupa Troops, take care, peace.